we got in here in 2000, right after the crash. So 2008, 2009, 2010 maybe. Georgia was in first grade. So now she's in ninth. So 9 years, 8 years?
Yeah, you said crash. You mean like the economy crashing? So when the economy crashed, you struck.
Dude, I got very lucky. I've been very lucky with finances in that I haven't made a ton of money in my life.
Yeah.
But when I have made money, it's when the market is opened up.
Okay.
So like I got Bert the Conqueror when I was 37. And then
still one of my favorite shows, by the way. Like, I don't think you realize how much I loved that show. I loved everything that you did. I was like, and then when I met you, it was like I was actually like starstruck at first. But then it was funny because the first time I really got to hang out with you, you were in chaps and a American flag men's tight Michael Phelps underwear.
That wasn't the first time, was it?
It wasn't the first, but that was right.
That was the first time we hung out.
That was one of the first times I really hung out with you.
Yeah. Because we had done something in Montreal before.
Yes.
But that was the first time we hung out.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was in a room of like 30 people at a 7 p.m. show, and that was the first time we told the Creed story.
That show was so dialed in for what I liked.
Yeah,
there's certain people that really, I believe, excelled in that. No, I didn't excel in the singing, but the story leading up,
that's all you.
And I think the frontman energy I loved.
Yeah,
but like me, Mateo Lane, obviously, yeah, but like. I remember seeing Ron White do the fucking "Give Me Back My Bullets."
By the Lynyrd Skynyrd song?
Yeah, and he had the hat.
You honestly have been a part of two of my favorite moments in the goddamn Comedy Jam.
That one was at the Roxy was the fucking coolest thing I've ever been a part of.
The Cocksocks doing Red Hot Chili Peppers, and it's not even just like the being free on stage and basically one quick move and it's literally a sex crime, but also when you did Scott Stapp on the TV show, that to me, dude, I don't know if you realize this, while you guys were singing, I was backstage like weeping because it was so beautiful.
It was so we should talk. I guess we'll talk about that up front. How did you come up with that idea? How did that manifest itself?
The goddamn Comedy Jam. So I don't know if you ever did it, but Sarah Tiana and Laura Valdivia used to run this show at the Unknown Theater. Did you ever go there?
No.
It was on the corner of Santa Monica and Seward, and it was like one of my first experiences in the LA comedy scene. Like I started in August of 2008 and immediately met like Angelo Bowers and Gerard Carmichael and Yasser and all the guys I started with, Byron, and they used to go there to do that show. And so we went there, and I wasn't very good at stand-up yet, but the owner of the theater had all these instruments, and then as soon as the show ended, it became this huge party. And the guy brought out all the instruments, and I just love it.
It's almost like he's trying to get on the podcast.
He wants to get on here so bad.
I don't know how much you can hear of it, but like literally, he shows up whenever I have a fucking podcast. My old one was worse.
Yeah,
he would bring merchandise and then try to get on my podcast and sell the merchandise.
Oh, you're fucking kidding me!
I swear to God, he'd be like, "I have a dresser drawer that I got at a swap meet. It's beautiful, worth $1,000.
Do you need rose shears? I have rose shears with my initials and my logo on them."
And then he'd put an orange on his leaf blower and do tricks where he blew the orange up in the air to try to distract us.
You could just schedule him on a different time than you're releasing the podcast. It's really that simple.
It's the way it works. It's the one. I don't know why he doesn't show up on Thursdays when I'm not in town.
Yeah, he knows.
But so you were doing that.
So we're doing this show, and the owner of the theater was just this eccentric druggie that loved the party, and the show would end, and then all the comics would start bringing out instruments. And because I was a better musician than I was as a comic, I just kind of let it. And what I started noticing was there were so many comedians that loved to sing and so many people that were like that had that musical ability. Then Laura and Sarah dropped the show. I took it over and I brought this house band, Elemento P, on. And so they basically brought people on and off stage. And so when they walked on stage, that meant the comics' time was done. But at that time, when they would get back up there, all the comics would start fucking around with them and start doing songs. And so I came up with the idea back in 2010 and then just sat on it. And then I started it in 2011 and like 11 the beginning of the year, but it wasn't really what it became. And then it just fell apart because I was doing it at a shitty theater. And then literally when 2014, when I just was like, I don't know what to do anymore. I had done the New Faces route, and the industry was like, well, we don't know what to do with you. You sing, you're dirty, you do all this shit. And I was just like, all right. And then I was like, you know what? Let me try this show idea out. And so some guy was like, we need to do a show. And I was like, well, how about this idea? And he goes, oh, this is perfect. And then literally the next day I ran into Bert at the Comedy Store. And he came right up to me after a set and was like, dude, we got to jam again. Because I met Bill there at the jam. He used to come for the Unknown Theater. And we used to always talk music. And he was like, dude, I'm playing drums again. I want to do it. And then I was like, well, I got this show idea. And then I pitched it to him. And then he was like, I'm in. Yeah. And then at that moment, that was when it was like, now it's off to the races. Because now I know I could sell it out.
I remember Sickler telling me, we got this show we're doing. Bill Bert, we just did one. Bill Burr was on it. You got to do it, man. You got to do it. And I was like, oh, that's right up my fucking alley. I love that idea.
You came in when you did the JFL one. The first JFL experience was cool, but it was like we scheduled the show at like 7 p.m.
Yeah.
It just like people really didn't know about it, and it just never really took off in Montreal until a couple years later. But the one that you did at the Lyric was still one of my favorite shows because you did Plush right after Scott Weiland died.
Yeah.
You came in chaps and the American flag fucking underwear.
Yeah.
And it was also the show where Louis showed up. I just posted that picture today because it's my favorite picture of all time because Louis looks so uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
Because you're putting your genitals like very, very close to him in the picture, and you're just like got this huge cheese on your face, and he's just like, yeah.
Sarah was there.
Sarah Silverman. It was Joe
DeRosa,
Matt Fulcheron, Sarah Silverman, Louis C.K. and you.
Yeah. And I remember I was in my vlog then.
Oh yeah, dude. Everything was with the camera,
I was
like going around
everything and editing it, and that was a good.
You were ahead of everybody. You were on vlogging before vlogging was even a thing, dude.
I be vlogging.
I be vlogging.
Yeah, that was a great one. That was a really great one. But I remember Sickler telling me about it long before that, I guess. And then what was the maturation of it going to Comedy Central?
So immediately Ryan introduced me to the Duffies after the first show because the first show just took off and there was already a little buzz about it. And so the second show, industry started showing up. I remember like Ryan Moran was there and like a bunch of like Charlie from South by, and it was just packed with industry. And then Ryan hooked me up with the Duffies, and the Duffies immediately got the idea and were like, we want to take this on. And I was like, okay, because Ryan vouched for him. And we sold it to CW literally immediately. Like, I think the deal signed for the production company in December. By February, we pitched to CW as like a throwaway.
Yeah.
And they bought it. Like in the room, they were like, we love this idea. This is great. Then they held it hostage for 6 months, and then it got up to the head guy. He dropped it, and then we went to JFL again, and that was actually not again. The first time we went to JFL, they loved it, and so it just got really a lot of buzz there. And then when we got back to LA, we pitched to Comedy Central, our second pitch, and it was like Gary Mann and Jonas and Ryan and Jordy, and they just, and immediately you could see like Gary just get really excited about it. It was also, I'm not gonna lie, dude, when I'm excited about something, it's just like I just, my love and my passion just comes out. And so like I took over in the fucking pitch and sold him. I mentioned you taking your shirt off. I mentioned like Ali Wong and just all these people that they loved. And then we got an offer 2 days later, and then it was the hour special. And then it was to series. Like it was great.
It was the coolest. It was also at a time when like produced shows are what was hot at the festivals.
Oh yeah.
It was like, I remember you guys did almost every festival.
We did do every festival. I mean, we did Bonnaroo and Bumbershoot and Outside Lands a few times, and then we've done Montreal consistently. Moon Tower, we're there every year. small ones. It was great, man, because it was great for me too as a comedian. I didn't take advantage of it as a comic because I wasn't doing stand-up as much as I should have been. Like the jam came out of my frustration with stand-up comedy, so I wasn't writing or really even fighting for sets when I went there. But it was like I'd go and do the jam, and the jam took so much out of me from pursuing any of that, because it's just like we're rehearsing and then I'm dealing with the band and I'm doing this and setting it up and then shit's always going wrong, and it was a lot. And so now it's like I love it that we might take it to a festival. I'm going as a comic as well, and then I'm just doing more sets, and now this show just runs itself. So
yeah, what comic surprised you the most?
Owen Smith. Owen Smith did BBD Poison. And he brought Vanessa Graddick and Tiffany Haddish as background dancers. This is before Tiffany Blue. Yeah. And it was just, he couldn't sing, but he did all the verses, and then I sang the backup. But it was just the whole organized, like he came out with they had their own shirts on that they made, and they had a dance worked out. And it was just one of those like special moments of the show that just completely blew me away. I mean, there's like, dude, Mateo Lane.
Yeah.
There's Sean Patton doing Cypress Hill was great.
Sean Patton's such an amazing performer.
He's just the best.
Just like his material's amazing, but dude, the way he delivers his body on stage, the way he carries himself fucking kills me.
Can I vape in here?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. Am I the first dude to vape? I vape to escape, everybody.
No, someone else vaped. I forgot who. Someone was we here with like what is that? Is that the Juul?
This is not the Juul. This is the cheaper version of the Juul, because the Juul is too expensive.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude. Dude, one of the best vape places in the world is right down the street from here. Like I travel to buy vape.
Really?
I'm not proud of any of this either.
So wait, when did you start smoking?
I was born with a Marlboro Red in my mouth. No, everybody in my family smoked, and so I started at 13.
You're Baltimore, right?
No, I'm Germantown, right outside of DC. I lied for a long time and said I was from Baltimore because I lived there for 10 years and I thought it made me cooler, but I'm really from the suburbs of DC. You heard it here first, people. You heard it here first.
Wait, when did you start partying though?
13.
Really?
I remember. We started drinking and stealing from my parents' liquor cabinet at a young age, because my parents had the dope liquor cabinet, you know.
What did your parents do?
My dad was an orchid man, and my mom was an assistant principal secretary. So she was the assistant to the principal. So secretary. And my mom used to smoke, and they never really partied whatsoever. And my sister basically was like the perfect student. And I was always into music and art and shit like that. And I really couldn't get attention unless I did bad shit. So I just at 13, I met Tassos and Ben and all of these grungy kids, you know, because I was always into hair metal, but then when grunge came, I was like, this shit's me, dude. Like I can do this. And then I found Scott Weiland, and then it was off to the races. And then I'm smoking cigarettes, wearing flannels and fucking Doc Martens, and then I started smoking pot.
What year is this? 91?
No, this is 1994, freshman year of high school, 94. Yeah. And then towards the end of it, so it's the end of 9th grade, going into 10th grade is when I found pot. I did LSD the first time, and then it was just, I started growing my hair long, and then that was it. You know what's funny too is I've always been obsessed with sports, and the grunge kids could not accept that I was this huge Washington Bullets and Caps fan.
Yeah, you are a big Bullets fan.
Huge, man. They suck, but I'll die with them. I'll die with them.
What was and so how did the party transpire? When did it get out of control?
Very, very quickly.
Really?
Yeah, but not bad stuff. Just all right, so this is so when I was in 10th grade, we would already been doing LSD a lot. This is when my parents found out. I'll tell you that. And that's where I think it got a little out of control. I was with my friends, and we decided to take 3 tabs of LSD each. And
dude, there was always those type of people that could go we're gonna take 5 tabs. We're gonna take it to the next level.
I thought I was one of them.
Yeah,
I thought I could handle it. And at first everything was cool, and then I started looking around the tent. We were in a tent in my friend's backyard, like 10 people in this one tent. My buddy's philosophizing, and I started looking around the tent, and all I see is swastikas everywhere. And I'm just like, you guys see that? The Nazi symbols? And they're like, we don't know what you're talking about, man. But back to why the earth is round, and they're just going into it. And then I'm just like, I got to get out of here. And I get up and walk out of the tent, and everybody starts following me. And then I start like freaking out. And then I ran 3 miles from my buddy's house to my parents' house at full speed.
Jesus.
Just like, I mean, like Usain Bolt, Bert, like fucking running as fast as I can, taking my clothes off, get to my parents' house, wake them up, banging on the door.
Jesus.
My mom answers the door. I'm in my underwear
This
and I'm
is
holding.
a after school special in the 80s.
Yeah, dude.
Motherfucker.
My mom answers the door like, Joshua, why are you naked? And I'm like, move. And I run through the house and I grab my cat and I'm like, who sent you? And then I'm like running upstairs and I get up to my parents' bedroom and I get on the floor and start doing like the curly thing, you know, where you're just like,
Yeah.
And then I started, this is the craziest shit. As I looked around the room, everything, like my parents, all the stuff in the apartment, not the apartment, the house was like getting younger. Like it like went like Benjamin Button style and started aging backwards. So all my memories started like coming out and my parents started getting younger and the television changed and everything. And then I reenacted my own childbirth in front of my sister, my mom, and my dad. Remember like standing up like, it's a baby, blah, 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 and then fucking swirling around, and then I fell asleep. And my parents had no idea that I did anything before then.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I was like,
And
they
then-
knew you were on something then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can't hide that. I'm naked.
You got to keep them away from caffeine.
Yeah, it's like, and then I woke up the next morning and my mom was like petting my head and she's like crying and she's like, what happened? And I was like, I think somebody drugged me with LSD, Mom.
Oh, that was the easiest way to get out of it. Back
Easiest way. And she was like, okay, well, come downstairs. We're having breakfast. And I went downstairs and we never spoke of it again. Ever. Never talked about it.
Whoa.
Not until I actually headlined the Hollywood Improv and my mom came to the show and like right in the middle of the set, I just stopped and I was like, Mom, do you remember the time I had a schizophrenic breakdown on LSD? She's like, oh yeah, I remember. But that was it. That was when my family knew. And then it kind of became, not I wouldn't say like a problem, but I was like being watched and because they had never done drugs or anything like that. So then I started, after that happened, it just kind of made me want to experiment more because it really like opened my brain up. So it was like a lot of psychedelics, mushrooms. And then when I went to Europe for like 7 months, I inherited money when I was 18 years old. I took half the money and gave it to my parents to buy our house back. And then it was like,
how did you inherit money?
So my great uncle died, and he left me, my sister, and all cousins my own age $40,000 each. He had been like hoarding money and started losing his mind. And it's actually kind of fucked up. His daughter, he only gave $10,000 to all of us. The rest of the money was to be split up because I don't think he realized how much money he had when he made that will.
Yeah.
Who knows? And so my parents we had really bad financial problems. My dad had lost a bunch of jobs. So my parents had to sell their house to their friend because they were going to lose it and then rent it back to us. So me and my sister gave my parents $20,000 each. I took 20 grand. And first thing I did was spend like $3,000 on fleeces because I had never bought clothes before and fleece was really in. And I was always cold, man. And then fleeces were big, bro. Nautica, Timberland, all that shit. And then I went to Europe because my friend said, who was in the military, said if you go to Europe, you'll get laid. So I was like, all right. I'd only had sex one time prior, and we went, and that was the first time I did Molly, or really ecstasy back then. And then I went to my first rave, and then I came back to America, started working at this Ruby Tuesdays like restaurant, and everybody was like a huge raver. And so then that like got me into that scene. So that's where the party became like exacerbated. That's where I did ketamine, like cat tranquilizer. I used to sell that. That's where I did coke for the first time, and there's a lot of ecstasy.
So wait, what did you do in Europe for 7 months? Did you just travel?
Just backpacked and drank.
Where did you go? Everywhere?
We started in London. Then we went.
Who'd you go with?
My friend Joel Aguilar. Joel was a pot dealer, and he's always been that guy that's like, we're going to go do this. And he's like, well, I want to go. You're going to China to visit somebody. I want to go with you. And I think I was the first trip to do that with, where he really got into that. So him and I, we flew into London and then we stayed there a couple weeks and then we went to Paris and then Barcelona and then up to, I think, like Vienna. And then it's like down through Italy, around through Austria. We went to Switzerland and then went to Germany for a little bit. And then we stayed in Amsterdam for a month.
Nice.
It was great. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like you're too young to appreciate it. And all we did was drink. That's all we did was drink and try to get laid.
I look back. One of the things I really wished I'd done was gotten a job there, taking like a year off. Yeah, taking a year off, gotten a job in Europe, and just been like this. I'm gonna bartend in Greece for a year.
I would have loved to.
It's one of the things I wish I'd done. I'm glad I didn't because I'm very happy with my life, and I think I would have. I'm not a kind of person that can put their life on pause. Like I can't just go like, you know what? I'm gonna take a year off. We were talking about this last night, me and Ari. I have too much of not a work ethic, but an obsessiveness about work, where I go, I need to be moving forward in my life. I don't want to be stagnant. Stagnation kills me. When I'm stagnant, I lose my fucking mind.
You're just like
depressed.
me. You're just like me, dude. I didn't have any. I had one of the busiest Hollywood weeks I've ever had in my life last week, but I didn't have shows at night, and I never felt like more of a loser in my life.
I can easily not do shows.
Really?
Oh my God. Well, yeah, because I'm talking so much right now that it's like last night we were at the store and I did Ari's storytelling show, and then Joe was doing a set after. He's like, "You want to do a spot?" And I was like, "Nah, I've been talking too much."
Yeah.
I think you can talk too much as a comic, and what happens is instead of having original conversations on stage, you regurgitate things that you know work. I think it's the biggest downfall of a lot of comics I see is they get up too much and they're not writing new stuff. They're just saying the same shit they said yesterday and they're not growing.
Yeah.
It's a part of the problem with me on this tour is I'm trying to work this hour out and you got to repeat the hour. And there was like a 2-week stretch where I was almost repeating it verbatim, not growing. And then the other day I was like, fuck that. In Tampa, I was like, I'm going to get lost in the hour. I'm going to get fucked up. Like, I'm going to start it backwards. I'm going to start it with something else and how to rework it. Because then your brain's forced to think about your material on stage. Yeah. And not like going, wonder where we're going after this, you know?
How much interesting new shit did you get out of it by doing that?
A lot. More importantly, I knew that I didn't have, because I started with this one story that I've had for a long time, but I never tell, but I told in Tampa. And then by default, I had to shorten bits up because I knew that I was already over. So all of a sudden I reworked a bit that hadn't been working and I just tightened it. I took all the fucking story out of it and just told you what happened and it murdered. And I went, that's what it is. And then my wife saw my set and was like, oh, I can tell you what you're missing. And I was like, oh, fuck. So now I'm going to New Orleans tomorrow and I can't wait. I just now I need to get my voice back.
Is it this completely warped?
It's right now. It's all it is just soft. So like I can't. For me, when you're pushing to talk and it's not just flowing, then it's too much thought process in it.
I get it.
That's why I didn't do a show last night with Joe because I was like, I can't. I was doing Ari's show and I was struggling to talk. I did Vegas and I literally was struggling to talk and I thought my voice was going to go out in the middle of it.
Do you ever do like Decadron shots or Decadron and like prednisone? Like when we were doing the jam, I was still doing drugs, so I was like really hurting my vocal cords.
When?
Dude, I did drugs. To be honest, all right, so the jam that we did, the first time you did the jam, not in JFL, but that December show, I had gone to like a pain management doctor and scored like 90 Oxy 30s. So while you guys were all on stage, I was going into the bathroom and like crushing them up and snorting them and then just like running out on stage like, yeah, just fucking, just not feeling any pain. So I was damaging my vocal cords that way. Yeah. I was singing improperly, and then I wasn't getting enough sleep, eating right, or doing anything to take care of myself.
I'm doing a lot of that,
which is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. You need to take care of like you need to get enough sleep more than anything because that's the only way they heal naturally. That and not talking. And then I think like 2 months after that, I had vocal cord surgery. I had a nodule and a polyp on my cords. but I was just losing my voice nonstop. And so I was surviving on like anti-inflammatory steroids, which can actually hurt it even more if you do it a lot. But like in a pinch, if you're in Vegas and there's 5,000 people waiting for you to go on and your voice is just really fucked up in the morning, just like have them give you a Decadron shot and you'll be able to get through it.
Really?
It literally takes all the inflammation away. But the thing is, it's just putting a Band-Aid on like a much bigger problem, and it can make it worse over time. Mm-hmm. But that's what I was doing until I had the surgery, and then I had the surgery, and that saved everything.
Yeah, I stopped smoking cigars, and that was a big help.
Yeah,
this is the first time I've been on the road for almost 2 months straight, and this is the first time I've had voice problems. But you know what it was for me is I invited everyone to go to a bar, and we went to a bar, and I ended up talking a lot. And at the bar, that's where
because everybody wants to be around you because you're so much fucking fun. Like, and then they want you drunk. They want you to be the fucking party man. That's the bad thing about being like the life of the party is like, dude, you're fucked, dude.
It's too bad I like it.
That's what it's fun, man.
Yeah.
I mean, when I used to drink, it was the greatest thing ever. I mean, it's like when you can like, it just gets you out of your shell, but you're already out of the shell.
I'm pretty out of my shell.
Yeah, alcohol just makes you just like it just takes you to that other level. Dude,
I have issues with alcohol just like everyone else. Like my issue is I watched Joe last night have a beer, have a shot, smoke a joint, have another beer, and get on stage. I cannot do that.
What do you mean?
I can't do it. I can't.
Just do that little, or you need?
No. I can't do any of it. I don't enjoy it. It makes me dizzy. Like if I know I have something going on.
Yeah.
Like Ari poured me a drink before I went on stage last night. I was like, I can't drink that. I can't drink at all before I go on stage.
Really? I didn't know that.
Not one bit.
I really thought that you would just like, the more loose you are, the more like
no.
loose you are.
If I get drunk on stage, you can hear it in my voice. I sound like a hippie, and I meander. I get very gluttonous.
You say like man a lot and start talking about Arlo Guthrie.
I start going like, bro, like you can feel it in my act. It's fucking really bad.
Yeah,
I think it's bad. I mean, there's times like there's times I will drink on stage where but I cannot get on stage drunk. I can't go on stage with it being buzzed at all because I've done it and it just never turns out right.
I get it.
Not a good way to start off a show. And Bert comes up to me one time. He goes, "Yeah, it's just like drinking. You're not as quick, or drinking and driving. You're not as fucking quick."
Yeah.
He goes, "That's why they don't let you drink and drive, asshole." But yeah, I interrupted you. You were gonna say,
what were we talking about? The jam, or were we talking about what? I forget what we were talking about.
Fuck.
I'm present, dude. I'm with you. I'm taking wherever this ride goes.
So wait, when did you quit?
I quit. Well, all right. I quit everything May 16th, 2016. I smoke pot still, so I shouldn't say that because I use that for relaxation at night, and I actually use it for like the medicinal properties of it because it fucking works. But I was like right before when we sold the show, I was super depressed. I couldn't like take the fact that I was successful because I just was like I never loved myself. I just lived in the past. I felt guilty about losing Angelo, just all this shit. So as the jam got bigger, my opiate use just became so fucking blown out of proportion. And I only felt like I was good on stage was when I was high. So I was just getting loaded every show. And then I did this week in Washington, D.C., where I ran into an old friend, and he had given me heroin. And he just said it was this pure opium. And so I did it there, went on stage, had a great set, came back to L.A., and just went to downtown LA and bought fucking dope like the whole week. And this is like right before we're about to shoot the jam. So we're shooting the jam in June.
The Comedy Central?
The Comedy Central hour special. And I remember saying to the dealer, I was like, yeah, man, so I'm going to need, you come meet me, like blah, 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 before shooting. Do you want to come to the show? This like 70-year-old black dude that like was like kind of like my conduit to getting the drugs in downtown. I'd call him, he'd get it. And then like I hit this moment where I just was running so low on money. So I was like, well, I have to detox. I can't, or I'm going to be homeless and not have money to eat. And I remember I got clean for 2 days, and then I went to the Comedy Store, and I run into Tripoli. And Tripoli sees me, and I'm pale, and like there's that look of like somebody that's been on it.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You relapsed again," and I was like, "Yeah, I did." And he goes, "When are you going to be done with this shit, Josh?" And I was like, "I'll probably end up dying, and then that'll be it, and I'll have a bunch of success, and I'll just die." And he goes, "Or you'll be that 50-year-old comic that almost had a TV show, and then they ruined it, and they're still hanging out here." And I just looked around, and I saw that guy. And I was like, "That's it, dude.
That guy's all over the store.
He's everywhere, dude.
Yeah.
He's everywhere. He's fucking. He's on the Ding Dong Show, like." And I just said, "I don't want that." And then that was it. And then I just went to I went to AA for a little bit. The program's great, but then I got even more depressed. And then when I started getting even more success, and then I was like, I didn't know what to do because I didn't want to go back and do drugs. AA really wasn't working, and I still hadn't handled myself. And then I started like meditating and going to this spirit. It's the greatest thing I have ever done. Like I always do. So we shot the TV show.
Yeah.
And most people would be so excited and be ready to like go out and attack the world. I've got all this momentum. Let's go out and do spots. And dude, the second we wrapped that show, I isolated for 4 months and didn't leave my apartment. Really? Like I just got a dog. I was dating this girl that was also depressed. So we were just in my apartment ordering Postmates, and we didn't do anything. And eventually, well, because there was also like, it was a lot of factors, man. It wasn't just dealing with my old self. Like I wasn't proud of the way the show turned out. I am now, but just the fact that they cut me out of a lot of it. There was a lot of
the one thing I was going to bite my tongue on saying on this podcast, but I did, but I won't, was I didn't like the way that you were treated in that production.
Yeah. I can look at it now and say how proud I'm of it. The fact that like, I did something that 99% of the people in this town want to do but can't.
Yeah.
And it opened up so many doors for me. But it was just like the show that I created wasn't the show that was put on air. Not. We did tape it like that. Like I went out and I did all the shit, and that experience. Having that is more important than anything. The fact that I at least got to do that. But
the biggest problem with that show is it didn't have a host.
And it needed that.
Yeah, it needed one singular boat to keep coming back to, and that's why the show was successful when we did it.
Yeah,
is you'd get up, sing the first song, and then fuck around, tell jokes in between, bring us up, be a buffer in between acts.
Yeah,
it wasn't that. It didn't have it.
Now, and you know what? I can look at it now and be extremely proud of it. Like I am.
It was a great fucking show.
It was great, and I understand what Comedy Central wanted to do. I would have preferred if they just would have given it to another host, because then I think the show would have run for years. You have that person that can go out and promote and really care about it and just be the face of it at least, because it just didn't, there was no promotions when you're having like Mateo Lane go on Seth Meyers to talk and he's mentioning it. He doesn't have that real connection to it, that whatever you need. So I isolate for a long time, and then it was like almost a year to when we shot the series. I was dating this girl, and she took me to this spiritual guide because I was like, I opened up to her, and it was a new girl, and I started getting back into stand-up and finding this love for wanting to be around people again. And I go to this, she takes me to this spiritual guide / clairvoyant, and she's like, I want you to keep an open mind, but this guy will help. And I meet this guy in Ojai, and this dude looks like, like a hippie version of John Goodman from Big Lebowski, like has on the exact same kind of outfit. Yeah. He's overweight. And he's like, I studied in India for 40 years under this Maharishi and worked with this guru and this person. And he goes, what I do is I read energy, and we're going to do a series of meditations. And I just want you to keep an open mind. And we do 2 meditations, and it's just literally pulling a picture up. And he's like also saying how he's going to be clearing the energy. And he's like, you're running at 6% when you're supposed to be running at 100. So I'm going to clear as much of that waste, all that shit that's blocking you, those filters, the ego, all that stuff. And we do 2 meditations, and I don't really feel anything. And then on the 3rd meditation, I have this full on out of body experience. Like completely, like, have you ever seen the movie The Fountain? The one with Hugh Jackman?
No, but that's one based off The Fountainhead, right?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's the one that takes place over like 3 generations. It's about Hugh Jackman and his
Definitely
girlfriend.
not based
She's
on the Fountain of
dude.
Heaven.
It is so good though. It's like Darren Aronofsky film, the guy that did Pi, that did Requiem for a Dream, and there's a scene in it where like Hugh Jackman like is like, I don't know what's happening, but he's just like light is coming through his mouth out of his ass, and he's just like floating in this deep meditation or whatever the fuck it is, and that's the way I felt. And then we finish, and he's like, I cleared all this energy from you. He's like, so what's going to happen now is you're going to feel good for a few weeks, but it's going to come back because the outside world is going to put all that baggage on you. And because of that took me through this journey of like, I need to work on myself because I want to, if I know that I can feel that good through without using drugs, like I want to try to get to that. And then I went to the spiritual guide, another guy, and I've been working with him for about a year, and then I went back to therapy, and then I just focused my attention on shit that I really care about again. Like stand-up, I actually really care about. I respect my material now. I love getting up on stage again and just being me and leaning into that and not trying to do what the industry wants me to do. And then I created the 500, and that to me is like my favorite.
It's the best thing you've done so far.
It is my dude.
It's fucking brilliant.
Thank you, brother.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It is. When I discovered it, I had that panicked, rushed feeling of like, how do I get more of it? How do I get on it? I want to text someone and talk to them about it. Like, it's fucking brilliant, man. I want to talk to you about that in a second.
Yeah.
I mean, we should talk about it now while people are still listening. You don't want to save it till the end.
Yeah, dude.
But wait, so the podcast is you go through the 500 greatest albums.
Yeah, it's Rolling Stone magazine's list of the 500 greatest albums.
The most depressing part is when you go, when we get to number 1, I should be 50, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah,
you might need to double up. You might need to do 2 a week.
But that's the thing. Everybody says that, and I need time to absorb the record, bro. I need to listen. I listen to the album like 20, 30 times.
Fucking listen to it on double time.
That's why, I think that's why it's funny too, is that it's going to take so long. And it's like, because also I think the audience, they love the podcast, but they also really, I think, want to absorb the record as well. Mm-hmm. And also there's like a million other podcasts that they're listening to. So I want to give them the full time to at least get one listen of Outcast Aquemini or Steve Earle Guitar Town.
Outcast Aquemini was such a great fucking one.
Thank you, buddy.
Because that's one of my favorite albums ever. But there was part that was with Byron, right?
Yep.
There's parts of that I didn't know what I was listening to or what I was hearing. That hearing him explain it. By the way, you should do a side podcast with Byron where you guys go through and explain rap lyrics, because I fucking was like, that's what he's been saying.
Yeah,
that's
dude.
what like. That was a fucking great one.
Thanks, man. That was. You know what's funny about Byron's episode is, so I had the idea, and first of all, I was doing another podcast and it just completely different about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and I was just practicing getting used to being a host, and then I went through this like complete existential breakthrough where I was just like, all I want to do is feel something. I want to experience something. I just want to be moved daily. And so then I saw that list and I was like, I'm going to go through every album one day. I'm going to spend one day on each record and I'm going to post about it. And I'm going to go through 500 albums over 500 days. And then on the third day, Jim Jeffries reached out to me and he's like, the Stone Roses records means so much to me. The stories I have. And then it like hit me like an epiphany, like that's the fucking podcast I've been waiting to do, man.
Genius.
And so I taped with Byron immediately. And then I went and taped 8 more. And then I realized the show had changed so much that I want that pilot episode to be what it is now after I figured it out. That I think it wasn't just a conversation. It needs to be focused and find these questions out. And so I went back and re-recorded the pilot with Byron.
Really?
And so we did that one twice.
I'm looking on the
But
list.
we still got all the shit out that was good from the first one, because Byron's like one of my best friends. You know, we lived together for 2 years, and it was just fantastic, man. And Byron was the perfect person to do that episode because he was living in Atlanta when all that shit was going down.
Yeah, he was. Hold on one second. I want to so everyone can find your podcast. It's called The 500
with Josh Adam Meyers.
If you just put 500 Josh in, let's see what comes up. I can't find it on my fucking thing. Right. Oh, I got it. Never mind. It's in my podcasts. So you've got you just did Pearl Jam
Vitalogy
with Joe List,
who's seen the band 40 times. This is how, dude, let me tell you something. This is how dope, like, I know I'm doing on this podcast, because Joe List told one of his buddies, who then I talked to later, said Joe was so not arrogant, but he was cocky because he knows so much. And he goes, I never felt more stupid because Josh kept bringing up not only the shit that I knew, but taking it even further. Dude, I have 2 researchers that I talk to daily. Like, I'm literally spending 10 hours on each record.
This is
like,
great.
I've got to do D'Angelo Voodoo right now because I'm doing that with Michael Rappaport. And I'm like trying to figure out how to break that down and compare it to his life and find out all these questions. It's especially hard when the lyrics to D'Angelo Voodoo was all just like, yeah, I feel like making love. That's every song. And I'm like, all right, how can I find out about Mike from that? But it's great,
Wanda
man.
Sykes, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
That was great.
Big J.R. Okerson. She's Cyndi Lauper.
She's So Unusual by Cyndi Lauper. He chose that. That was
Really?
like, that's a record that means so much to him, dude.
Kiss Destroyer with Jeff Ross makes total sense.
That was he made me a fan of Kiss.
Yeah, he's like a legit fan of Kiss.
Legit.
ZZ Tops with Chris Porter. Albert King with Sinbad.
That one that we taped that. For a month, we were going back and forth. He was supposed to do it. Then he got snowed in North Carolina, and then he got sick. And then it's like literally that came out January 2nd. I finished taping that show at 9 p.m. on January 1st because I waited for him.
Wilco, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot with the Sklar Brothers. Let's talk about Wilco for a second. That album changed the way I listen to music.
How so?
I was a big hip hop guy at the time. I've always been a big hip hop guy, but I was in a band, and I appreciate music, but I wasn't listening to anything thoughtful or thought provoking at the time. And someone told me, "Oh, this band Wilco, they self-released their album. They bought it back from the studio and then put it online, and then it blew up. And there's this documentary, Am I Trying to Break Your Heart?" Or I think is the name of the documentary.
That's it.
So I bought the documentary and I watched it, and then because I was into documentaries, and then I drove home from Sacramento and I listened to it was when I was working at Laughs Unlimited, and I was listening to it walking to the club, and I think Ashes of American Flag was like, I was like, hey, I don't need music to like pump me up. I can have music that kind of just sings a song to me while I walk. Yeah. Like I can have music that just goes, let's slow down things today. Let's go into this old record store. Let's listen to music and be on our own music video. And I went, holy fuck. Like, cause for that, everything about music was like get my heart racing and get me like I was at the time I was also,
who let the dogs out?
Dude, I ran into the guy that bought the rights to that. Do you ever hear that story?
No, I didn't.
This guy was at my show in somewhere in fucking North Carolina. He was at a resort, and there was a band playing Who Let the Dogs Out, the guys who wrote it.
Yeah, the Baja Men.
And no, it wasn't. No, it was not the Baja Men. It was another group of just black dudes at a fucking retreat, and he went, "Did you guys write that song?" And they're like, "We did." And he was like, "I'll buy it from you for $5,000." And they were like, "Done." So he bought it for $5,000, took it to the States, had it re-recorded with the Baja Men, and made gazillions, dude.
I remember when I used to DJ like middle school dances, and that song came out. That was a rap, dude. I dropped "Who Let the Dogs Out," and then the crowd went bananas.
Trick Daddy was
Take it to the house, dude.
Trick Daddy. I only listen to music that like Scarface, The Fix. That was like, the way I was taking in music was like, get in your car, put your sunglasses on, sit back, chair lean back, always like lean back, like almost you could barely see over the hood, or it's like oh yeah, like. And then that Wilco album changed, and I listened to it over and over. I didn't on the whole ride home that night. I drove back from Sacramento, and I just listened to it over and over, and I was like, "Whoa!" And then I became obsessed with Jeff Tweedy. Then I rewatched that documentary. Then I bought all the back ones, like
Being There,
AM Radio.
Yeah,
Being There.
Whatever the other one I'm forgetting is Summer Teeth.
Summer Teeth.
Yeah.
And then anything they came out with. I mean, to this day, if I am going to go snowboarding or ride a motorcycle, I listen to Wilco, that song, Wilco will be there for you, baby, whatever the fuck. I listen to that Wilco song. That is my anthem of like being in the moment.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited to listen to Sklar Brothers.
Dude, you know what? That is where I really saw what the podcast is going to be, because it's extremely funny because it's them and me, and we have such a good rapport. But they were so honest, you know. And that's the thing about the podcast, is that it's like, it is funny, but like I can't say it's comedy, I can't say it's music, I can't say it's drama. It's just good. It is just good.
It's just good. It doesn't need to be. When I listened to Ryan Sickler, the pilot one, and I was like, I've always wanted to get into. Who did he do? Not
BB King live at Cook County Jail.
I was like, I've always wanted to be into BB King. And then you guys breaking down why you should be into BB King, like what you should be listening for to get yourself into BB King. I was like, this is what I've wanted. Like, I can't tell you how great the podcast is. It's just fucking perfect.
Thanks, man.
I was jealous that we didn't have it over at All Things Comedy. And immediately I was like, how come we didn't talk to Josh about this? How come we didn't get
what with that? Because Bill's one of my closest friends, and it's like I met with a whole bunch of people, but I think what I decided is because I gave up the rights to the goddamn Comedy Jam too quickly, and I'm nothing against any of them. I just was like, I want to see what I can do solo right now, and then see how far I can take it.
Move.
And it's right now we're just crossed 10,000 downloads an episode. Some episodes are getting like 30,000, like
should
Bert,
be getting way more.
It will. It's just people don't know about it.
Yeah,
so I'm just trying to figure out for a way to get the word out. It's like, dude, I care about this thing more than anything I've ever done. Like
dude, the goddamn Comedy Jam as a first project out there, as a first thing of like, this is a produced show, this is my first TV show, is one hell of a thing to follow. This is better. It's more you, more you, way more. I mean, look, the goddamn Comedy Jam was so fucking entertaining, but this is just, it's a different level. It's a different type of thoughtfulness. It is arguably the Maron that we hear on WTF, where you see all the things that make him complex and interesting.
Yeah.
And the things that, once you figure out people do dig this about me, I can take this on stage and I can be a bigger performer. I would argue Maron became a much better comedian after he started WTF.
Sure.
And I think I think the same about you. You will blossom. Having done this podcast, you will blossom in these things that you've learned. They'll become the subtle references in your act that people fall in love with. You're still very young in the business, but when I go, it's the best thing you've ever done. I haven't done anything that good.
Oh, come on.
I know, I'm being dead serious. I've had a bunch of shit Travel Channel shows.
They're so good, though, dude.
My last special was pretty fucking good, but it's not like a body of work that's going to be entertaining people until their kids go to college.
I love you. You know why? I think it's why a lot of us are successful, is because, when you love to do something, and you don't give a shit how people perceive it, you're just like, I love this. This is me. I want to put it out there, and you put love behind it. It's in passion. It's like people feel that, and that's what I'm noticing. People are saying back to me. It's like, other people could have done this, but I don't think anybody would love it and put more passion behind it than Josh.
Passion. The only reason I'm a good stand-up is that I'm not. By the way, I'm not even that good, but I'm so passionate about stand-up that the amount of time I think about it is going to overwhelm the guy that's more talented than me that doesn't care about it.
Yeah.
Like, I just love stand-up. I could sit. We were sitting at the back bar last night. Me, DeRosa, Ari, and Rogan, and we're telling fucking Robert Schimmel jokes. I love stand-up. I could talk about stand-up every fucking waking minute. We went on that ski trip to Utah. Me, Renazizi, and Ari, and all those guys. Patton and Normand and Ryan O'Neal. All we did was talk about stand-up. We were on a beautiful mountain, and we stopped skiing to go have a beer and bullshit about stand-up.
Yeah,
we were sitting on a mountain, just drinking and talking about stand-up. And then at one point we're like, you guys just want to go ski down to the bar and just talk about stand-up? We're like, yeah. And we just skied down to the bar and talked about stand-up. I could sit with people who love stand-up for the rest of my life. I don't that's all I need in life is stand-up. I love it.
It really is. You know what? Like, because when I first started, I had the group, and that's the best thing.
Who is your group?
My group,
you, Brian, Angelo.
No, so it's me, Angelo Bowers, Gerard Carmichael, Byron Bowers, John Shefsky, and Rel Battle, and then like assorted others like Johnny Scortis and Nate Hurd, and and then you had the Comedy Store people like Jade, Tony, and Benji. But that was basically our class, Matt Edgar. And that was the most exciting time of my life because we had all started. We are all like, nobody's getting anything. So we're just helping each other out. And so, oh my God, Gerard got a show. Angelo got a show. It's like, we're going to go and support. And we're all broke and I'm homeless and I'm just trying everything just to survive in this town. And then we all started getting success, and then you start getting, like, at least I did. I got very jaded because it's like, you have Gerard getting just taken right to the top of the hill. And
Gerard's a fucking unicorn.
He is. I mean, he's very special. I get it. When he touches you, he releases oxytocin, and people love him, and I love him. So Gerard goes his way, and Angelo goes his way, and then we all start separating, and then it's like I was still enjoying it, but I think I was frustrated. And then I started getting success, and then I got really frustrated because Hollywood was like, they just don't know what to do with you. They're like, I remember at New Faces, everybody's like, dude, you're funny, but I mean, we don't know what to do with you. Like, where do we put you? You sing, you do this, you're kind of edgy. And then I fell out of love with it. And I'm just doing the same material, and I wasn't writing, and the shit I was writing was not me. It was like what I thought Hollywood would want me to be. Cleaner. I started cutting my hair and trying to like focus my set on everyday shit. And then I do the Jam. And then when the Jam was basically reached its peak, I went and did this show in San Diego, man. And it was some bar show. I didn't want to do it. I was supposed to go down with Sickler. And Sickler had to cancel because I think his daughter was sick. And so then the headline, or the booker was like, can you headline? And I was so mad. And I drove down there. And I went on stage, and I didn't do any of my old material. I just was like being in the moment, started with crowd work, and then just had the greatest time ever. Yeah. And from that moment, I was like, oh yeah, this is why I love it. Because it's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then I had to go back and start doing open mics again because I had no shows. And then within like 2 weeks, my calendar was full, but I was only doing material that was me. And now I'm loving it just as much as I loved it when I first started, because it's just, when I go on stage, it's Josh. It's exactly who I am. I'm not holding any punches back. I am being me 100%. And if the audience doesn't like me, there's nothing I can do about it because I'm being true to myself.
Yeah.
And that is right now I'm having the like more fun doing stand up. Like when we do the Jam now, where I used to do a song and then fuck around in the song for like 10 minutes as my set. Yeah. Now it's like, let's do the song. I might bring the song down for like a minute to explain the show, tell the audience to get behind it. And then I go on stage after that and I do 20 minutes of material. And that's where I'm having fun.
Yeah.
And now it's also cool too, because when we do the Jam, we brought stand up back into the Jam, where it's not like just let's tell a story, do a song. It's like, do your set, then tell your story, and then fucking do the Jam and do the fucking music.
That was one of the funner ones I did when we did the Roxy. We all did like 10, 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, dude. And that's the way it should be.
I was there. I think I had Adidas track pants on, and because I had the sock cock on. But that was one of the funner sets I had in Hollywood.
One of my favorite moments from that night was you, me, Johnny Scortis, and Jeremiah and the band trying to put our cock socks on.
Yep.
In the green room. And not only that, but like in that green room where we are standing, there is a picture of Bob Marley and John Lennon standing in the exact same spot. And if you looked over at that picture and look at you, they're having this deep conversation and you're trying to tuck your balls into a sock. You brought so many socks, dude.
I brought so many different types of socks. Because I was like, I couldn't find the one that my dick fit in, and it stayed. So like I brought Top Stick, which is like, I brought everything. I brought rubber bands, and then at one point I'm getting ready to go on stage, and Bill's at the top of the stairs and I'm at the bottom with a sock on my dick, and I see him just taking pictures of me, and he goes, "I never thought we'd be here, Bert."
Well, that was another thing, was that we're putting our cock socks on and Bill's sitting on the couch and he goes, "You know how ridiculous you guys look?" But then you look at Bill and Bill is dressed as John Bonham with a fucking wig on and fucking, it's like, all right, dude, you look just as ridiculous, bro. That's still like the cock socks moment is one of my favorite moments in my entire life, because I just, the idea of being naked in front of like 450 people.
Oh, my wife's friends were there, and they were like, "Jesus, that's very brave of him." And my wife's like, "Brave of him? I'm the one married to him sitting in the audience." Wait, tell me about Angelo, because I never really knew Angelo, and all I know is that you guys lost him, and it was like a defining moment for like everyone that lost him. But I don't think I knew him at all.
A lot of people didn't, because he was only in the scene for 4 years, and then the accident happened, and then he's gone. But
where is he from?
From Modesto. So I meet Angelo. One of my first open mics I'm doing in Los Angeles. I'm at the Hollywood Improv. I'm out in the hallway, and I'm talking to Rel Battle and Akash Singh.
Rel Battle I don't know Rel Battle either. I don't think.
I think he was on the show Superior Donuts. He's really fun, dude. Hysterical comic.
Was he a part of Roast Battle?
He was a part of Roast Battle.
Yeah,
at the
okay,
beginning.
I know who he is.
So I'm outside talking to Rel because he's from DC, and Akash runs up to Rel and goes,
I know Rel Battle, yeah.
Yeah, Akash runs up to Rel and goes, "Dude, you got to get in there. That kid Angelo's up." And we walk in there, and Angelo's just the open mic, but Reed is in there. It's a packed house, and Ange goes up and just rips. I mean, with the most brilliant material I've ever heard in my life. Like, I'm like crying, laughing, and then after that, I go to another open mic, and Ange is there as well. And I get off stage. I'm not very funny at the time at all, but I get one joke that gets a laugh. And I get off stage, and Ange walks up to me, and he's like, "Dude, that was hysterical." And I was like, "Dude, you're hysterical." And he's like, "No, man, I enjoyed your shit." That was the kind of person he was. Is that like Ange was funnier than all of us, but he would always spin it. If you complimented him, he would just throw it right back to you, but mean it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so immediately we became best friends, and it was, like I said, our group. And I had never connected with another person the way I connected with him. It's like I've never met anybody that I got along with that made me laugh. And so when you had that person that made you feel so good, like, and built you up when you're trying just to be funny for the first time, Ange was the guy that literally kept me in stand-up, because I would have quit, because it took forever for me to really get consistent. And you know what that's like. You have a great set, and then you eat shit, and you're like, what is wrong with me? But Ange was always there, and Ange was always killing. And so because of that place, the Unknown Theater that I mentioned earlier, Ange became a very special person there. He would close out every night. And so, Chris Porter was there and would see him, and Brett Ernst would see him, and then Sam Tripoli and Burr, and they all wanted to help him. There was a night at Sarah Silverman's birthday party, and they were doing a roast of Sarah Tiana's birthday party. Yeah, sorry.
That's a different story.
A way different story. It was Sarah Tiana's birthday, but Silverman comes up later, though. But Tiana has this roast, and Jim Gaffigan goes up and annihilates, right? And then Ange goes up. No one remembered that Jimmy had even gone up, because Ange murdered that hard. Really? Just doing his jokes and then shitting on Sarah. And it was just brilliant. And he was just set up punch, but it was so well written. And Ange was the kind of guy that would spend all day long. He literally was homeless so he could write jokes all day long. He started writing for other comics that had to do, like Chelsea. He was writing for a lot of comics that we know, tagging them when they were doing roasts. He never had social media, was against it completely. And people couldn't believe that, because he would have killed Twitter. So he starts getting bigger, and he's probably going to get past at the store. And at this point, everybody loves him, and everybody just loves how great of a comic and person he is, because it was all like, people always said they never hugged at the Comedy Store until Ange came around, because he'd give you this big bear hug. And so Ange then does this show, and this is actually a weird turning point in what the story is, where Ange does performance anxiety, and which is a show at like a sex shop, and somebody's running late. Sarah Silverman's running late, and they're like, hey, put Angelo up until she gets here, and Ange goes up and just annihilates, and then Sarah Silverman sees him. And then as she's going on stage and Ange is coming off, she says, wait here. I want to talk to you. And then she like literally is like, here's my number. I want you to call me. I want to work with you. I think you're one of the funniest people I've ever seen in my life. The next day, Ange was at my house and he spent the night. And I wake up in the morning and he's gone. And it's like early too, because I was going to the gym at like 7. And I call Ange and he won't get back to me. And then around midday, I'm at work and he calls me and he's like, man, I was having these weird heart palpitations. So I had to go to the hospital. And he's like, I'm like, how'd you get there, dude? And he's like, well, I walked. And I was like, why didn't you wake me up? He goes, I didn't want to bother you. You guys were asleep. That's how like special of a guy. He's like, oh, well, Josh is sleeping. Brittany's sleeping. And so Ange then got diagnosed with cancer.
What?
And yeah, they found a tumor in his chest, and that was making his have this irregular heartbeat. And so he had gone back to Modesto to get it all taken care of. And I called him every day, but during the whole fucking time, man, he was like sending me text messages. It's like just like the funniest shit about having cancer. Like he's like, the doctor says it's cancer and I don't have representation. Like he would just like make these like really like ridiculous things like to just deal with it. And then he got back into town in December, or it was January really, where he got a clean bill of health. And then Ange and I were I met Angelo after I just gotten back into town. My girlfriend had just broken up with me. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I had Ange. And then me and him went to go get food, and then drunk driver ran a red light and hit the car and killed Ange. And then I was in the hospital for 2 weeks.
Where were you? What intersection?
You know where the Capitol Records building is?
Yeah.
Right there, dude. Corner of Vine and Yucca.
Dude, that's the most frustrating thing in the world to hear, is that a drunk driver, that you can be doing everything right, and a drunk driver will just end your life.
Yeah. It's
Did you guys get hit on the side?
So we got hit on Ange's side, like the front of the car. We were, what's funny is the last memory we had was just laughing because we were driving by the apartment that my girlfriend was now living in because she had left me for another guy. And we were like pointing at the Hollywood Towers like, yeah, that dude lives there. Dude, I thought the guy was gay that she left me for. So when I found out she had left me, I was like, he was gay. She's like, no, he's not gay. And I'm in love with him. I'm like, what the fuck? And so me and Angela are just laughing at that, and we're crossing the intersection. I remember we just see this huge like Toyota truck just coming right at us, going like 80, and then it just hits like in the front passenger side, and then I wake up and I'm on the ground and I got blood in my eyes, and there's this guy standing over me, and he's like, stay down. And I start apologizing, and the guy's like, no. He's like, the dude was drunk, man. He's like, you're fine, dude. And the ambulance shows up, and then I see Ange. I could have sworn I saw this, and people say that he never got out of the car, but I see Ange get out of the car and sit down in the front of it. And so I'm like, oh, he's fine. And then the ambulance takes me, and I go back to the hospital, and I'm there, overnight. And then everybody starts showing up, and I just thought they were like being supportive. And I keep asking like, what happened to Ange? And nobody will tell me anything. And then Ange's parents walk in, and then they broke the news. And then I don't remember anything for the next like 4 days. Cause that's what started my drug addiction, was that I couldn't handle it. It's like, I lost like the love of my life. I lost like the funniest person, the person that I was going to work with forever. But now I finally dealt with it. And I've used the way Angelo, the reason people loved Angelo is because, dude, he was just such a special person. It was all love.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember there was a time we drove out to do this show in the city of Orange, and we get there and there's like 2 people, and I'm like, dude, we just drove an hour for this shit. And he's like, why are you mad? He's like, we get to do stand-up. This is great, man. Yeah. He's like, we're having the time of our lives. We're on the road. He just had such a good outlook, and he lived in the moment, and that rubbed off on people. And
I think people forget that those relationships that you form when you're young are the ones that you will have for your entire career.
100%.
My guy like that is obviously Tom. It's like that's Tom and I were just he was as broke as I was, if not more broke. I had 2 kids. Tom was living in Koreatown, and we drove out to the fucking Brea Improv every chance we had to go do stand up. And so those long car rides, those long conversations, those laughing hysterically moments, those are the ones that bond you forever. Oddly enough, what happened to the guy that hit you guys?
The guy that hit us was 21. Never been in trouble with the law. I think he got 16 years. He has to at least serve 13 before he comes up for release. So that was 7 years ago. So he's got 6 more years.
He's still in prison?
Still in prison. Young kid, man. Just, parents were immigrants, and like he's first generation American. And
what's his ethnicity?
Ecuador, or I think El Salvador or something like that. But he didn't have any insurance. There was no insurance in it. I had insurance, but I only had if I hit somebody else's car. But I did have uninsured driver insurance, and the ex-girlfriend, right as we were breaking up, I was like, because I didn't have a bank account at the time because I was so broke. So I was like, here's $75. Can you at least just pay my car insurance? And she said she had done it, but she didn't. So there was no insurance on it. And luckily, Angelo's family had some insurance, and that got them money for the funeral. And then everybody was so sweet and like raised money for me and for Angelo's mom. And then I took that money and spent it all on drugs because I was just completely like devastated.
Was Angelo wearing a seatbelt?
Yeah, he was wearing a seatbelt. I wasn't. So we got hit. I flew out of the car.
That makes no fucking sense.
Well, I think it was all internalized. Like, I think his whole insides were so, I don't want to call it soft, but, he had just had a tumor removed from his chest. So it was, and it like literally with before, like not even a month. So we got hit hard, and then you get hit by the seatbelt, and all this stuff starts shifting, and there's all these different, it's not just your body.
Did they say that he passed from internal bleeding?
Yeah.
Or?
So this is what, there was a girl that was she was a nurse, but she also was like a big connected person to the LA comedy scene. She said to me that I've never seen them try to save somebody as much as they tried to save Ange. Like hours, like just they used so much blood because they could not get it to stop, and then he'd get him stabilized, and then he'd go into cardiac, and then they bring him back to life, and it was just over and over for hours. And I don't know if he doesn't have that cancer surgery, does he survive? I have no idea, but it was really heavy. But now, like, I'm finally able to like accept it. And also it's like, there is no jam if there's no Angelo, and I'm not talking about me, like, but Angelo was the one that said to me, you need to do something with music.
Yeah.
He's like, that is what you love. He's like, you love stand up, but you love music. Figure out a way to put them together. And then the 500 is literally because of Angelo. I say that in the first episode. It's like, Ange loved Rolling Stone magazine, and he knew so much about music that he would make fun of me that I didn't. He'd be like, how do you not know ELO? And I'm like, I don't know, I just never listened to it. So all of this whole
Did they
journey,
open for Soundgarden? I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, is that a Stone Temple Pilots song? Because I have no fucking idea. But he's the one that they said to me, it's like how he just introduced me to so much. So this podcast is a way to honor him. And I couldn't enjoy it more. And it's like when I'm listening to these records 30 times and breaking it down and getting that weird information that I'm going to ask you or Tom or whoever about, like that's Ange coming through, man. So it's just all any way to like carry his voice and keep that love that he had for this business alive, Well,
dude, I've been friends with you now for a few years, and it's been a question I've always had and that you didn't want to bring up because I don't want to be hanging out at the club going, hey man, real quick, can you tell me everything I need to know about? So I've always played dumb, and I listened to the beginning of the podcast and I went, all right, I gotta find out. I want to know everything about this because I knew that he had passed. I knew that it was a car accident. I didn't know about the cancer, but I knew he was great. Because don't you feel like it's sad that his jokes don't get to go anywhere? Like all that material just goes like...
what's really cool? No, I know. And it's good. He would be bigger than all of us. That's the thing. Like he probably would have written for Saturday Night Live or a late night show. And, the world was his oyster. Like I remember Eric Abrams was still working for JFL, and he goes, "This would have been the year that Angelo was going to get it. Like, we weren't even going to make him showcase. We were just going to have him do the second one and then just give it to him, and his life would have blown up.
Yeah,
because he would have killed that, and then everybody would be on his nuts, and because everybody else was. Luckily, his jokes were so memorable that a lot of people started tweeting them, and then there was a Twitter feed called Angelo's Jokes. I think it's Angelo with a Z, Angelo's Jokes. And I'll retweet some of them just so you guys can find it. But it's literally, we just have a page of all of his jokes. Just brilliant.
A-N-G.
So Angelo with a Z, I think.
Angelo.
Let me see if I can find it.
Jokes. Why would I be able to spell that?
Here, I'll give you one of them. He goes, my father always used to say to me, "There's no I and you need to play football, faggot." Here it is. It's Angelos Jokes. Angelo's Jokes.
Okay. Nice. So everyone go through. That's one of the things that bums me out is when something like that passes and you don't get to hang out and like get to know their stand up.
Oh, dude, you would have loved him.
All right, I'm following him now. He's going to be posting new jokes, but
well, that's true. What sucks is that he didn't like social media, so that's gone. Also, what sucks is he hated being videotaped and having his material put out there because he was constantly writing, constantly growing. So there are some videos of him. If you type in Angelo Bowers in YouTube, you can find all of his material that was posted.
This is what sucks is that like some of these jokes you can tell he's young. That if he had, it's like a tell if he has two or three things in here. And so, like, if he is just a little older in the business, he would have fine-tuned them.
Oh, my God. Dude, I'm telling you, like, me and Gerard always said, it's just like there was nobody funnier than Angelo Bowers. Everybody believed that. And just the thing was, the world and the LA comedy scene was really just starting to say, this guy is so great. Dude, I remember when he died, Aristotle made a documentary to play at his tribute of just asking people like Fahim, Kyle Kinane, Bobby Lee, J. Chris Newberg, me, Yasser, Sarah Tiana, Tripoli. We all just told our favorite Angelo story. Yeah. He also had one of the favorite myths about Angelo. Angelo had the biggest dick anybody had ever seen. Really? This nerdy guy. I mean, he was so obsessed with sex and he was like dating this girl and finally had a chance to do all the stuff he wanted to do sexually. And he'd just tell me, he'd be like, Josh, he's like, dude, I just ate a turkey hoagie and had sex at the same time. Like he was such a deviant, but and had this huge dick but he was also the most nerdy, brilliant joke writer you had ever met, man. Let me tell you my favorite Angelo story because I think you'll fucking love this. Yeah. Me and Ange always used to say, if you're in a comedy contest and somebody has a disability, you're gonna lose. Yeah, that's just the way it is. You can't beat the guy with the disability. So Ange is going to do his first showcase for Just for Laughs. It's at the Laugh Factory, and he goes on the list, and I'm with him. And Samuel J. Comroe is on the list. Samuel J. Comroe, very, very funny comic, man. The guy's hysterical. He has Tourette's. And he's a crusher, dude. This guy is hysterical. Yeah. And so I noticed, and I point out to Ange, I was like, yo, you have to follow Samuel J. Comroe. And he's going to crush. And Ange just starts getting nervous, right? So we're in the back, and Sam J. Comroe goes on stage. And what I say had the greatest set in the history of stand-up. Yeah. The greatest set ever. Doing oh my God. Just like, when I get a haircut, I can die. Just like, it's just whatever. He is annihilating to the point where when he gets brought off stage, the host goes up and has to calm the audience down. Like, all right, guys, calm down. We've got more show going on. Ange is so nervous. And as they introduce Ange, he walks on stage. The audience is still kind of like humming, beating the table, crying. Yeah. And Ange walks up there and he goes, you guys aren't going to believe this. but I also have Tourette syndrome. And just all the comics in the back just dying laughing. And this woman yells out, "That's mean!" And he's just like, "I could give a fuck." And that was Ange, just this brilliant, fearless guy that just had a brain that just knew how comedy worked.
Yeah. Well, dude, I think he would be very happy to see where you're going. Because I'll tell you right now, man, I'm glad to know that you're not like I knew you partied, but I didn't know the extent of it. But I'm so happy for where you are right now.
Thank you, brother.
The fact that you're so back into stand up and focusing on the stand up and the podcast. I really feel like your ship is about to take off. Like your ship.
Yeah.
You know, I think when the goddamn Comedy Jam blew up, that was your ship, but they made you sit and coach.
Yeah.
You should have been flying that ship.
I needed others to make that succeed. You know, that
you know
show,
what you got to do to get by in this business.
Yeah.
And I think I don't think you got fucked. I think it could have been better with you at the helm or not, who knows?
Who knows?
But dude, this new podcast is so fucking awesome. And I think it'll introduce you to a bunch of people that will then, it'll be you finding your fan base and then starting off that first run of small theaters where you're doing like 600 seaters, adding nights. I think I'm really happy for you, man.
Thank you, buddy.
Really happy for you.
I couldn't be more excited doing this, man. It's like you said, dude, it's like one of those things was always trying to connect with people and not just fans, just the people that I work with. And after I lost Angie, it was so hard. And so to use this podcast as a way to sit down with people that I fucking love and respect and really connect with them. And that means more to me than anything. So I love this.
The podcast is the 500. You have anything else to promote?
Just look for the 500 with Josh Adam Meyers. Comes out every Wednesday. Bert, you're doing it.
Yeah. What do we know? What
album? Yeah. Well, Reg told me that you wanted to do Notorious B.I.G.
Oh, yeah.
You know what's funny is I told Segura that you wanted to do Live After Death by Notorious B.I.G. and he goes, "That is the worst fucking idea."
Well, you know why my main reason is?
Why?
Well, that was me and him were on the cover of Rolling Stone together right when he died.
You were on the cover of Rolling
Stone? Not my face, but my article and his death were on Rolling Stone at the same time.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. And that album came out right when I got famous from Rolling Stone.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So that album was like what I listened to as everything took off for me.
This is great. Then let's save it for the podcast because that's going to be fucking brilliant, man.
Yeah, I can't wait, man.
I love it.
Dude, well, congratulations. You know I love you. I'm so glad you entered my
brother.
life because I've had so much fun working with you.
Thank you, brother. I love you to death.
Awesome, brother. Thank you.